Excuse me. I think one of my interests about America and President Donald Trump is the fact that we have a new Trump administration again, and this is the Republican Party in the world. So I think that we do have a changed world. We have President Donald Trump again, and I think that this is kind of a shift from kind of all of that global austerity we had with the Democrats in America. So it's a little bit of a good news that we have the Republicans and President Donald Trump. I think now that he's been newly elected as President of America, I think President Donald Trump is likely to have pretty much a shift on his, he's pretty much likely to focus on his previous policies as President of America before, including kind of like Israel, Europe and North Korea, and maybe domestic American issues like the South American border wall in South America. So I think that we have those issues, but I think that one of the other interests he could have is perhaps Iran as well. I think that President Donald Trump could be interested in Iran, perhaps some kind of relations with Iran. So that could be one of the other interests. I think that Iran is a very important issue for America at the moment, because it's probably the reason why it's disengaged from the world with some kind of a Middle East issue with Iran. So I think that could be interesting. But I think the interesting thing about President Donald Trump is that he appeared on the Apprentice TV show. He's done Apprentice, so he's kind of like an apprentice president. And I also think he comes from like a billionaire business background. So he's probably one of the first American presidents who has a billionaire business background. So I think that's an interesting thing about President Donald Trump's background, is his billionaire business background. He's kind of like a businessman background, with the fact that he's done Apprentice, and he's also a billionaire business president. So I think that is quite interesting in how he behaves as a president, because he always involves himself in other countries and takes risks. So I think that's important. And the other interesting thing about President Donald Trump is he's always open to friendship with Russia. He's always offering an American handshake to Russia and President Vladimir Putin. So I think that's one of the interesting things about President Donald Trump. He's very enthusiastic about that and very interested in that. I don't know why he's interested in relations with Russia, but he always seems to be interested in relations with Russia. I don't know the reason for that. I don't think Russia is very interested in President Donald Trump, but I think President Donald Trump is very interested in Russia for some unusual reason. So I think that's quite interesting as well. But President Donald Trump in the White House is very unusual and different, and it's a change for the White House. So President Donald Trump does do a change in the White House, and that's what President Donald Trump and as president looks like in America, with Donald Trump politics in America. That's what he looks like, something like that. So I think he is interested in kind of like soft American policies, but very dominant foreign policies. I think last time he was president, he persuaded President Netanyahu to move his capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which is a very significant step in world history. Israel and the Jewish people have never occupied Jerusalem like that in 2,000 years. But for some reason, President Donald Trump, did meet President Netanyahu on a few occasions, and he persuaded him to move the Israel capital from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. That seems to be very business occupied and very unusual. So that was one of the unusual issues about President Donald Trump's policies abroad, foreign policies. I think that one of these previous Trump policies of Jerusalem has changed the world in a very Trump-like way. It's like blowing trumpets, and that's how it looks like. It's changed it in a very Trump-like way. And I think the fact that Israel now occupies Jerusalem as its capital is very momentary and significant for world history, because Israel has never done that in world history, only 2 or 3 times, and that was 2,000 years ago. So the fact that Israel occupies Jerusalem in the modern era, in the modern age, and the modern society is very significant, because it kind of confronts the entire Islam world and the Muslim world with this issue. And the Muslim and Islam world has never had to deal with this issue of Israel occupying Jerusalem. It's never had to deal with that issue. But now in the modern age, it's had to deal with this issue. It is having to deal with this issue. So that's quite significant for the modern age and the modern society. So I think that's one of the differences President Donald Trump has had in the world. He's done some kind of this change in the world, and I think with his unusual character, we're likely to see perhaps more of these controversial policies in the next 4 years, perhaps even more, and that's quite important. So I think that's one of my interests about Donald Trump. Thank you very much.